There have been so many of you asking for an update since I put out my leveling guide, and as much as I wanted to upload one earlier, I wanted to absolutely make sure that I had a build that could take on maps at least T10 before doing an update. I'm up to T11 now and it's been super cruisy. I'll do another one when I get to the later maps as well. Now, I did have to make some changes to the build from the first iteration that was definitely more focused on killing bosses in the campaign. And in the transition to mapping, I've really tried to focus more on survivability and AoE. Survivability is by far the most important thing when transitioning to maps and sustaining maps. This is because if you die, you lose your map. On top of that, you have to be able to survive rare maps with whatever affixes they have, so you have the best chance of getting many more maps and many more higher tier maps and higher rarity maps to save your currency as well. So what I had to change, first I did have to do some optimization to the skill tree. It is pretty similar to the one I had in my first guide, but there are some deviations like getting more of the armor points here, branching out to backup plan here to get the evasion rating and armor. Also a little bit of optimization here and there to save some skill points. We're still grabbing quick change act for the weapon swap speed. Next notable node, adrenaline rush for movement speed and attack speed, which is still great. We'll have the weapon set skill point for the bow for inflicting ailments. With that as well, there have been some versions of a build like this that use the railgun ability. I forgot what it's called, to apply shock. This here, Plasma Blast. So I've seen some builds use Plasma Blast to apply shock for single target with Shockburst rounds. And you can absolutely do that, but I do find Plasma Blast locking you into a 2-second attack to be a little bit awkward, especially on rares. For bosses, you can charge it up sort of before because most of them have an animation. I still quite prefer Stormcaller Arrow. But yeah, if you wanted to save some points there and not go the weapon swap route, you can absolutely do that. Continuing on, next we'll go into Iron Reflexes, which converts all our evasion rating to armor, and grab these points down here, like Leatherbound Gauntlets and General's Bindings. These are all just to give us a good chunk of armor. Still going with Polymathy and Jack of all trades. Decent, I think that's like another 30% damage we get, and increased attributes is great too. Oh, also another thing, if you've noticed, I've changed most these like little nodes here to strength. I've just got the absolute bare minimum I need to use whatever dex skill I have, which is 164. And as soon as I hit that 164, the rest is going into strength. That's just to get more life, because strength gives life. Still grabbing instant reload with the crossbow weapon set points. Emboldened Avatar for shock chance on the bow weapon set point. The lightning nodes here. Sand in the eyes with the chance to blind, and the attack speed nodes. On the crossbow weapon set, going with these crossbow skills here. Next we'll go with the Giant Slayer node for the damage to res and unique enemies. And Cull the Hordes for Culling Strike Threshold for synergy with our Witchhunter Ascendancy. I then path across here, grabbing Exploit for increased damage with hits against enemies affected by elemental ailments, which we are using a lot of shock, which we benefit from that a great deal. And I path over this way with Catalyst. In the other skill tree I had, I went up here, but this time I've decided to go down, grab some more attack speed. Down here, some magnitude of shock you inflict. Also some maim on our attacks and attack damage. And that's generally where I'm at with the skill tree at the moment. In the skill tree I would have linked in the description, I have two variants. One more offensive variant where I do believe the best path is to go up here to the projectile damage and increase projectile when forking, because we do use fork with our Galvanic Shards and some more attack speed. And there's also a defensive variant where we'll path across this way, grab Polished Iron, Blade Catcher, and Beef, just get some more armor and some more health. I have to play it by ear, see which one I need going forward. If I need the armor, I'll probably go armor and health. I'll probably go left. If I just want to pump harder, I'll probably go this direction and grab the damage. Onto gems. Now, it is nearly identical from where we were before, but now I'm using Galvanic Shards as the main clearing spell for maps. I'm using it with Fork, Martial Tempo, Lightning Infusion, and Conduction. Also notice how this is a 5-link. I only just got the 5-link recently. This clears perfectly as a 4 as well, and I just dropped off Conduction with a 4. Shockburst rounds is similar to before with I'm using Primal Armament, Elemental Focus, and Fresh Clip. Voltaic Mark with Persistence and Lightning Mastery. Herald of Thunder with Cannibalism, Neural Overload, and Magnified Effect. Electrocuting Arrow with Maim and Lightning Pen. Shard Scavenger's just going, still don't even know if it actually works with the build or not. Feel like it does sometimes, I'm not sure. And then Stormcaller Arrow with Scatter Shot, Lasting Shock, and Coursing Current. Onto gear. The gear I have at the moment, where is it here, is not too bad. You should be able to... I don't think I have anything that's worth too much. It's all... a lot of the pieces I got for 1 Exalt or 2 Exalt, or I made on my own. Decent bow, decent crossbow. You want to focus on fizz damage, both the percent one there and flat fizz. They're the most important things for your weapons. It helps with scaling. Also, if you want to transition builds into the future into a different element, having an elemental damage strapped to that would definitely hold you back if you went with like lightning for a lightning build. Fizz definitely involves some flexibility. Decent head, decent body armor, rings and amulets to sort of fill in the spots. You're looking to ideally cap out all your resistances and have as much armor as possible. I'm about 10k armor, which I feel like is decent. I wish I had capped chaos, and I was capped fire, but then I hit T11 and then it dropped my resistances down a bit. But I'll be looking to get those back up to 75. Especially with something like chaos here, having 50% resistance versus 75, I'm taking twice as much chaos damage as I would otherwise if I had a capped chaos resistance, because I'm taking only, because 25%, if you had 75% reductions, half of 50, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm taking twice as much damage as I could if I had it capped. So look, working towards that, and that's absolutely what you would want to be working towards as well, with as many points in strength as possible to get as much HP as possible. Gameplay is different to how we were playing before. Introducing Galvanic Shards, it's a lot simpler. There is no two-step combo like with Stormcaller Arrow and Shockburst rounds. Just holding down the one button, holding W and running through mobs. Bossing is still pretty much the same. I've been doing Stormcaller Arrow now because it's got a 1.5 second detonation time into Voltaic Mark into Electrocuting Arrow. Then by the time those two have gone off, Shockburst rounds will be ready to go into the electrocuted target. Another thing going into mapping, always be on the move. Standing still is dangerous. Assume all corpses explode. Assume all projectiles are going for you. Assume enemies are tracking where you're running, so try and do a bit of a diagonal here and there so you don't run headfirst into a million projectiles. What I've got here is a rare Waystone, massive Waystone drop chance going into a tier 10 Riverside with boss and breach and other things as well. There's a quick example of how this build is handling maps at tier 10. As you'll see, it will go through the map with absolutely no problem at all. Normally one clip of Galvanic Shards is enough to get rid of any of these white mobs, especially with the Witchhunter Ascendancy, Culling Strike and Decimating Strike. The synergy works quite well just for powering through maps really fast. There with the magic pack, it was 2 rounds, and honestly don't even have to really stop holding W for most of the map. These skeleton shield reflect guys are really scary if you aren't paying attention, and then you unload a full clip into them while walking straight forward. They'll reflect your shot straight back at you. So if you're walking diagonally or at like a perpendicular to the way they're going, you're not going to get hit, so that's alright. Those big quadrillas that like to jump and smash you as well, they do mini stuns, but as you can see, the Galvanic Shards makes absolute work of white monsters. Got my first map drop, and I'd be looking to get quite a few, especially with a rare map like that, with 320% waystone chance. You'd be hoping to get quite a few map drops from one like that, especially when you pair it up with a map that's got boss and breach and all those extra goodies in there. Still, because if you do die, you lose the map, I tend to be a little cautious. How I do like to clear maps is I like to follow one of the edges around, and I'll kind of like do a full circle, and then I'll slowly fill in towards the center, just so I'm not retreading old steps. But Riverside is one of the better maps to do. Not many casters, no real detonate dead creeps either. They're the more lethal ones. So pretty quick clear. Now here I reach the arena, and I sort of prepare. I get our Shockburst rounds loaded up, and this guy, you got to be careful. That big smash will one-shot you, I guess, unless you have massive armor and health, but he's one-shot me in the past. But as you can see, even though this is a tier 10, the single target damage is still there, and Shockburst rounds absolutely makes mincemeat of him. Some good loot drops from that as well. Some nice maps. If you like the video, definitely subscribe. I'll try and update you again in the future, maybe when I've completed the highest tier of map or done any of those endgame bosses. I really appreciate the comments I got on the last video, and it took off way more than I ever thought it would, and I just want to say I really appreciate that, so thank you all.